The year was 2147. Earth had finally made contact with many alien species. Most of them lived in a large group called the Galactic Concord. This group had hundreds of worlds and thousands of different beings. For many years, humans asked to join. The aliens always said the same thing: "Show us you are smart enough." One day, a big ship from the Concord came to Earth's space station. The ship was smooth and silver, like a giant fish made of metal. Out came the leader of the visit. His name was Vexlar. He was a Zarathian. Zarathians were tall, with skin like dark purple leather. They had 7 eyes spread across their wide face, and 7 thin mandibles that moved when they spoke. Vexlar was famous. Many called him the greatest teacher in the galaxy. He made tests so hard that even old thinking machines failed them. Vexlar stood in the main hall of the Orbital Academy. Around him stood humans in neat uniforms, and alien guests from other worlds. He raised one long arm. His voice came out deep and slow through a small translator box on his chest. "People of Earth," he said, "the Concord welcomes new friends. But friendship needs respect. Respect needs proof. Today we give you one test, one question. One human must answer it. If the answer is right, Earth joins us as equals. If not, you stay outside and watch from far away." The humans in the room looked at each other. Some felt excited. Some felt afraid. Everyone knew the stories. No new species had passed Vexlar's test in over 300 years. The question was always impossible. It looked simple at first, then it twisted into knots that broke minds. Vexlar turned to the council table. "We need one human. The choice must be fair. We will pick by chance." A small silver ball floated up from the floor. Inside it spun thousands of names. Every human who had said yes to the test was in there. Scientists, pilots, teachers, students, soldiers, all of them. The ball stopped. A name appeared in bright letters on the wall. Daniel Hayes. A quiet man in the back row stood up slowly. He was 42 years old. He had short brown hair and calm green eyes. He wore a plain gray shirt and carried an old notebook under his arm. Daniel taught math at a small college in Ohio. He liked quiet walks, black coffee, and solving hard problems just for fun. He never thought he would be picked. He had put his name in the list only because his sister told him, "Someone has to try." The crowd made soft sounds of surprise. Some people clapped, others whispered. Daniel walked forward. He did not look scared, he just looked curious. Vexlar watched him come closer. The alien's 7 eyes blinked one after another. "Daniel Hayes," he said, "you are the chosen one. Do you accept?" "Yes." "Good." Vexlar's mandibles clicked together in what might have been a smile. "Then follow me." They walked through long white halls to a special room. The room was round and very big. In the center stood a huge hologram projector. When it turned on, a strange shape appeared in the air. It looked like a ball made of lines. The lines twisted and folded into each other. Colors changed every second, blue to red, green to gold. Numbers and symbols danced around it like fireflies. Vexlar pointed at the hologram. "This is the question. It is called the recursive eternity paradox. Many species have tried to solve it. All failed. The rules are simple. You have 10 Earth days. You may ask questions to understand the shape. You may use any tool you want, but you must give one final answer. If your answer is correct, Earth joins the Concord. If not, you leave as observers forever." Daniel stared at the hologram. He did not speak for a long time. Then he asked his first question. "What happens if someone finds more than one way to solve it?" Vexlar's eyes narrowed. "Any correct way is good, but no one has found even one." Daniel nodded again. He pulled out his notebook and started writing small notes. His hand moved slowly. He looked calm, like a man reading a normal book. Behind him, in the observation seats, sat Laura Bennett. She was 31. She had been Daniel's student years ago. Now she worked as a researcher on the station. When she heard his name called, she felt her stomach turn. She knew Daniel was smart, but this test was different. It was made to break people. Laura leaned close to her friend Kevin Morales. Kevin was an engineer from Texas. He had short black hair and a serious face. "Do you think he can do it?" she whispered. Kevin watched Daniel. "I don't know, but look at him. He isn't shaking. He isn't bragging. He's just thinking." Vexlar spoke again. "The test begins now." The clock starts. A large number appeared on the wall. 240,000. 10 days. The alien teacher turned to leave the room. As he passed Daniel, he stopped. His voice became low, so only Daniel could hear. "I have watched your people for a long time. You are clever in small things. Ships, weapons, stories. But this question is not small. It is made to show limits. Every mind has limits, even yours." Daniel looked up from his notebook. He met Vexlar's eyes without fear. "Maybe," he said, "but sometimes limits are just lines we draw ourselves." Vexlar made a strange sound, almost like laughter. Then he walked away. The doors closed behind him. Daniel stood alone in the big room. The hologram turned slowly in front of him. The lines folded again and again. It looked alive, it looked angry, it looked impossible. He sat on the floor. He opened his notebook to a fresh page. He wrote one word at the top. Begin. Outside the room, people talked in low voices. Some said the test was fair. Others said it was a trick. Everyone agreed on one thing. Vexlar had not come to teach. He had come to trap. He wanted humans to fail. He wanted them to stay small. But Daniel did not know that yet. Or maybe he did. He just kept writing. Simple lines. Simple numbers. One step at a time. The clock kept counting down. And somewhere deep in the twisting shape of the hologram, a quiet human mind began to look for cracks. Daniel Hayes sat on the smooth white floor of the big round room. The hologram floated in front of him like a living thing. Its lines twisted and folded over and over. Every time they seemed to finish, they started again in a new direction. Colors shifted slowly. Sometimes the shape looked like a ball. Sometimes it looked like a knot that could never come undone. Numbers and strange symbols moved around the edges. They glowed soft blue, then sharp red, then faded to nothing. Daniel opened his notebook. He wrote the date at the top of a new page, March 1st, 2147. Then he drew a small sketch of the hologram as it looked right now. He did not try to copy every line. He just wanted to remember the main shape. After a few minutes, he stood up and walked around the hologram in a slow circle. He looked at it from every side. The door opened quietly. Laura Bennett stepped inside. She carried a small tray with water, coffee, and a plate of simple food. She was allowed to bring things to Daniel, but she could not stay long. Rules were strict. "How are you doing?" she asked in a soft voice. Daniel turned to her. He gave a small smile. "Still breathing. That's a start." Laura set the tray on a low table near the wall. She looked at the hologram. "It makes my head hurt just watching it." "It's supposed to," Daniel said. He took the coffee and drank a sip. "This thing is not a normal math problem. It's built like a maze with no exit. Every path leads back to the same wall." Laura sat on the edge of the table. Vexlar came to the observation deck earlier. He talked to the council. I heard him through the glass. He said the paradox is perfect. He said no mind in the galaxy has ever broken it. Not even the old AIs from the machine worlds. Daniel nodded. "I believe him." "Then why do you look so calm?" "Because calm helps me think." He pointed at the hologram. "See how this line crosses itself? It creates a loop. The loop says the shape must fold again. But when it folds, it makes another loop. And so on. Forever. If you try to stop it at any point, the whole thing falls apart. That's the trap. Laura frowned. So it's impossible on purpose? Yes. Vexlar didn't make a question to find the smart ones. He made a question to prove that everyone has limits. He wants us to try hard, get stuck, and then admit we are not ready for the big table. It's a polite way to say no. Laura felt a cold feeling in her chest. Then what chance do we have? Daniel looked at her. His eyes were steady. The chance comes when you stop playing by their rules. But I need time to see where the rules bend. They talked for a few more minutes. Laura told him about the crowd outside. Some humans were angry. Others were scared. A few alien guests looked amused. Vexlar walked among them, like a proud parent at a school play. He answered questions with smooth words. He never sounded mean. He sounded kind. That made it worse. When the time was up, Laura stood. I'll come back tomorrow with more coffee, and maybe some music if they let me. Daniel smiled again. No music yet. Too distracting. But thank you, Laura. She left. The door closed with a soft click. Daniel went back to work. He asked the room computer to show him the rules again. A clear voice read them out loud. The recursive eternity paradox must be resolved using strict deterministic logic. All dimensions must remain consistent. No external assumptions may be added. The solution must close every loop without contradiction. Daniel listened carefully. He wrote the words down one by one. Then he underlined 3 parts. Strict deterministic logic. No external assumptions. Close every loop. He whispered to himself. Strict. No external. Close every loop. He walked to the hologram and touched one of the glowing lines. The whole shape turned brighter for a second. He pulled his hand back. Interesting, he said. Hours passed. Daniel did not eat much. He drank water and coffee. He paced, he sat, he stood again. He asked the computer simple questions. What is the smallest number of dimensions needed to start the recursion? 7, the computer answered. What happens if I remove one dimension? The shape collapses into non-existence. What if I add one? Recursion becomes infinite in the wrong direction. Paradox increases. Daniel wrote those answers too. He drew little arrows between them. Outside the room, Vexlar met with the council again. The tall alien stood tall. His 7 eyes moved slowly over the faces around him. The human is studying, he said. He asks basic questions. He writes notes. He has not yet tried to give an answer. That is wise. Most try too soon and fail fast. One of the council members, a small blue being with feathers, spoke up. Will he see the trap? Vexlar's mandibles clicked softly. They all see it, eventually. The trap is not hidden. It is the point. When he accepts that the contradiction cannot be removed, he will stop. Then we move to the vote. Earth stays outside. Another council member, a heavy creature with stone-like skin, laughed low. Humans think they are special. Let him try. It will be quick. Vexlar did not laugh. He just watched the live feed from the test room. Daniel was sitting again. He stared at the hologram without moving. Inside, Daniel closed his notebook for a moment. He rubbed his eyes. Then he spoke to the empty room. Computer, show me the exact point where the first contradiction appears. The hologram zoomed in. A single bright spot glowed where 2 lines met at an impossible angle. The fold demands both existence and non-existence at the same time. Daniel leaned closer. So this spot is the heart of it. Yes. He thought for a long time. Then he asked another question. Has any species ever tried to ignore this spot and solve around it? No. The rules forbid ignoring core contradictions. Daniel smiled just a little. Rules, he said quietly. He opened his notebook again. This time he did not draw the hologram. He drew something else. A small circle with arrows pointing in and out. Next to it he wrote, one word, observer. Laura came back the next day. She brought fresh food and a blanket. Daniel looked tired but not beaten. Any luck? She asked. Not luck, he said. Just questions. Lots of questions. She sat near him. Vexlar is outside right now. He's telling everyone you're doing what everyone else did. Studying, writing, waiting to fail. Daniel looked toward the door. Let him think that. Laura lowered her voice. Is there a plan? Daniel looked at the hologram. The lines kept folding. There might be, but plans change when you learn more. Right now, I'm learning how tight the trap really is. He stood up. He walked to the bright spot again. He pointed at it. This, he said, is where Vexlar wants me to break. He wants me to say it's impossible. He wants me to give up here. But maybe the answer isn't to fix this spot. Maybe the answer is to change what the spot means. Laura did not understand, but she saw something in his face. A quiet fire. The same look he had years ago when he solved a problem no one else could touch. She stood too. Then keep going. We're all watching. Daniel nodded. Tell them not to worry yet. The clock still has a lot of time left. Laura left again. Daniel sat down once more. He picked up his pen. Outside, Vexlar smiled with all 7 mandibles. He thought the human was just another student caught in the web. But inside the room, Daniel Hayes was not struggling to escape the web. He was starting to see how the web was made, and he was thinking about cutting new threads of his own. On the 4th day, the big round room felt smaller to Daniel Hayes. The hologram still floated in the center. Its lines kept folding in endless loops. The bright spot, the heart of the contradiction, glowed stronger now. It pulsed like a heartbeat that refused to stop. Daniel had not slept much. His eyes were red, but they stayed sharp. He sat cross-legged on the floor with his notebook open on his knees. He had filled many pages already. Sketches of the shape from different angles. Lists of questions and answers from the computer. Small notes in the margins like loop demands both yes and no, and fold breaks at infinity. He stared at the last note he wrote the night before. What if the problem is not in the shape, but in how we look at it? Daniel stood up slowly. His legs felt stiff from sitting so long. He walked close to the hologram until his face was almost touching the glowing lines. He spoke to the empty air. Computer, show me the rules one more time. Read them slowly. The calm voice answered. The recursive eternity paradox must be resolved using strict deterministic logic. All dimensions must remain consistent. No external assumptions may be added. The solution must close every loop without contradiction. Daniel listened to each word. When the voice finished, he repeated the last part out loud. Close every loop without contradiction. He said it again, softer. Without contradiction. He turned away from the hologram and paced in a small circle. His shoes made soft sounds on the white floor. After 10 steps, he stopped. He looked back at the glowing spot. Every species before me tried to fix that spot, he said to himself. They tried to make the lines agree, make the fold choose one path. But the spot says both paths at once. That's why they all failed. They played inside the box Vexlar built. A small smile touched his lips, not a big smile, just a quiet one. The kind he used to get when a hard problem finally showed its weak point. He sat down again. This time, he did not draw the hologram. He drew something new. A simple stick figure standing outside a circle. The circle had arrows going in and coming out. Inside the circle, he wrote the word system. Next to the stick figure, he wrote observer. He stared at the drawing for a long time. Then he added more words around it. Quantum choice, self-reference, collapse on look. Daniel closed the notebook. He stood and faced the hologram once more. Computer, he said, can the paradox be observed from inside its own structure? The computer paused for a second. That pause felt long. The question is unclear. Clarify. Daniel took a breath. If the system, the shape itself, could act as its own observer, would that change the contradiction at the core? Another pause. The rules state no external assumptions. An internal observer would require self-reference. Self-reference is not forbidden, but it has never been attempted in this context. Daniel nodded. Show me what happens if we allow the shape to reference its own state. The hologram flickered. For the first time, the lines did not just fold. A thin new thread appeared. It came from the bright spot and looped back to touch itself. The color shifted to a soft silver. The pulsing slowed. Daniel watched without moving. His heart beat a little faster. Computer, describe the current state. The recursion now includes a metalayer. The core contradiction is held in suspension. It is neither resolved nor broken. It waits. Daniel let out a long breath. It waits, he repeated. He turned and walked to the low table where Laura had left fresh coffee that morning. He poured a cup and drank it slowly. The hot liquid helped clear his head. He felt something shift inside him. Just a door opening a crack. Outside the test room, Laura Bennett stood in the observation deck. She pressed her hands against the thick glass. Kevin Morales stood next to her. They both watched the live feed on a big screen. Daniel had just made the hologram change. The silver thread was still there. Kevin crossed his arms. Did you see that? The shape moved different. Laura nodded. He asked it to look at itself. Vexlar never lets anyone do that. He always says self-reference is cheating. A few alien observers stood nearby. One of them, the small blue feathered one, clicked its beak. The human is playing tricks. The teacher will not allow it. But Vexlar was not smiling anymore. He stood at the back of the deck, his 7 eyes fixed on the screen. His mandibles stayed still. No clicks, no soft laughter. He watched Daniel like a hunter who suddenly realized the deer was looking back. Inside, Daniel kept going. He spoke to the computer again. Add the observer loop as a formal dimension. Treat it like the 7th one, but make it point inward. The hologram responded. More silver threads appeared. They wove around the original loops. The bright spot dimmed a little. The pulsing became steady, like a calm breath. Daniel wrote fast in his notebook now. Equations appeared on the pages. Not the alien symbols, human ones. Simple at first, then more complex. He used letters and numbers everyone on Earth would know. X became the position. T became time. Psi became the wave of possibility. He muttered as he wrote, if the system observes itself, the wave collapses. The choice is made by looking. No outside force needed. The contradiction turns into a probability, and probability can close without breaking. He stopped writing. He looked up at the hologram. The shape was changing faster now. Loops that used to fight each other started to align. Not perfectly, not yet, but closer. Daniel felt tired. His shoulders hurt. His eyes burned. But he did not stop. He asked more questions. He tested small changes. Each time, the hologram answered. Each time, it shifted a little more. Laura could not stay away. She asked permission to enter again. The guards let her in for 10 minutes. She walked in quietly. Daniel did not look up at first. He was staring at the hologram with his head tilted. Daniel, she said softly. He turned. His face looked different. Not scared, not proud. Just awake. Really awake. You're doing something, Laura said. The shape looks quieter. Daniel pointed to the silver threads. I stopped trying to cut the knot. I asked the knot to tie itself. Laura stepped closer. Vexlar is watching. He looks worried. Good, Daniel said. He should be. She looked at his notebook. The pages were full. Drawings, words, numbers. She saw the stick figure outside the circle. What's that? The key, Daniel answered. Humans learned long ago that some problems can't be solved from inside. You need to step back. Look at the whole thing, even if the whole thing is looking back at you. Laura felt a strange hope rise in her chest. How much time is left? Daniel glanced at the clock on the wall. 6 days. That's still a lot. Enough, he said. If I can make the shape see itself clearly, the rest might follow. Laura wanted to hug him. She did not. Rules. Instead, she touched his arm lightly. Keep going. We're all with you. Daniel nodded. Tell Kevin to keep notes too, just in case. She left. The door closed. Daniel turned back to the hologram. He spoke one more time to the computer. Run a simulation. Let the observer loop complete one full cycle. The hologram lit up bright. Lines raced around. Silver met purple. Gold met blue. The bright spot in the center blinked once, twice. Then it settled into a steady white glow. No contradiction scream, no collapse. Just calm. Daniel sat down hard on the floor. He stared at what he had done. Outside, Vexlar turned away from the screen. His mandibles twitched once. He walked out of the observation deck without a word. The trap was still there, but now a small human hand had reached in and started to turn it inside out. Daniel picked up his pen again. He wrote 3 words at the top of a fresh page. On the 7th day, Daniel Hayes stood in front of the hologram like a man facing an old enemy. The shape had changed. Silver threads now wrapped around the original purple and blue lines. They did not fight. They moved together. The bright spot in the center no longer pulsed wildly. It glowed steady white, calm and waiting. Daniel had not slept more than 3 hours each night. His shirt was wrinkled. His hair stood up in places, but his eyes burned clear. He held his notebook in one hand. The pages were thick with writing. Equations filled the last 10 sheets, simple ones at first, then harder ones. Numbers mixed with words like collapse, self-loop, fixed point. At the bottom of the newest page, he had drawn a small arrow pointing forward. Next to it, one word, now. Daniel spoke to the computer in a quiet voice. Run the full observer simulation again. This time, let the loop complete 3 cycles. Watch for stability. Lines raced faster. Silver threads tightened. The whole shape spun slowly. Colors blended into soft gray at the edges. The center white spot grew brighter, but not painful. It felt like looking at a quiet star. After 2 minutes, the computer spoke. Simulation complete. All loops closed. No contradiction detected. Stability at 98.7%. Daniel let out a long breath. He closed his eyes for 5 seconds. When he opened them, he looked different. Not tired anymore. Ready. He turned to the wall where the observation window hid the watchers. He could not see them, but he knew they were there. Laura, Kevin, the council, Vexlar. Computer, Daniel said, louder now. Record this as my proposed solution. I will explain step by step. The voice answered. Recording started. Proceed. Daniel walked around the hologram slowly. He pointed to different parts as he spoke. Step 1. The paradox starts, because the recursion demands both existence and non-existence at the core fold. Every past attempt tried to force one or the other. That force creates the break. He stopped and pointed to the silver threads. Step 2. I added a self-referential observer dimension. The shape now looks at itself. In human terms, this is like a wave in quantum physics. Before you look, it holds many possibilities. When you look, it chooses one. No outside rule needed. The system decides for itself. The hologram shifted slightly, as if agreeing. Step 3. The observer loop is not external. It grows from the core spot. It uses the contradiction as fuel. Instead of fighting the impossible choice, the loop accepts it as a state of potential. Potential collapses into certainty through self-observation. He paused. His voice stayed even. This idea comes from human math and science. Gödel showed systems cannot prove everything inside themselves. Turing showed some questions have no final yes or no. But humans learn to use that limit. We built machines that stop, even when they cannot decide forever. We accept incompleteness, and in accepting it, we find new paths. Daniel pointed to the center again. The core is no longer a trap, it is a mirror. The shape sees its own unsolved state and says, that is enough. The recursion ends because it chooses to end. Not because I forced it, because it observed itself and found peace. The hologram responded without being asked. The lines straightened. The silver threads faded into gold. The whole shape settled into a perfect sphere. No more folding, no more loops. Just clean, endless symmetry with a soft inner glow. The computer voice rang clear. Solution validated. Paradox resolved. Recursive eternity complete without violation of core rules. Daniel stood still. He did not cheer. He did not smile wide. He just nodded once, like a man finishing a long walk. Outside, in the observation deck, silence fell first. Then sounds broke out. Laura Bennett pressed both hands to her mouth. Tears came to her eyes. Kevin Morales let out a loud whoop and punched the air. Human observers clapped hard. Some aliens stared with open mouths. The small blue-feathered one dropped its tablet. The stone-skinned council member sat down heavily. Vexlar did not move. His 7 eyes locked on the screen. His mandibles hung loose. No click, no word. For the first time in centuries, the greatest teacher in the galaxy looked lost. The doors to the test room slid open. 2 council guards entered first. The full council walked in. Vexlar came last. He moved slowly, like his tall body had grown heavier. Daniel turned to face them. He closed his notebook and held it at his side. The head council member, a tall, thin being with glowing skin, spoke first. Your solution has been checked by the system. It is correct. The recursive eternity paradox is solved. Murmurs rose from the group. The head continued. By the laws of the Concord, Earth is granted full membership, equal seat, equal voice. Cheers erupted from the humans in the back. Laura ran forward and hugged Daniel tight. He hugged her back for a moment, then stepped away gently. Vexlar walked closer. His voice came out low. The translator box made it sound rough. How? Daniel looked at him. No anger, no pride, just calm. You built a perfect trap. Every rule pointed inward. You expected a mind to break against the wall of logic. But humans do not always fight walls. Sometimes we walk around them. Sometimes we use the wall to build something new. Vexlar's eyes blinked one by one. You use self-reference. You let the system judge itself. Yes. That was not the intended path. I know, Daniel said. But the rules did not forbid it. You said strict deterministic logic. You said no external assumptions. You never said the system could not become its own judge. Vexlar stared at the hologram. The perfect sphere still floated there, glowing soft gold. I designed this for 1,000 years of failure. To teach humility, to keep order. Daniel nodded slowly. Humility is good, but so is courage. Sometimes the brave thing is to question the question. The alien teacher looked down at Daniel. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Vexlar raised one long hand, not in anger, in something close to respect. "You have taught me," he said. "A teacher does not often learn from a student." Daniel gave a small smile. "Then we both learned today." The council members began to talk among themselves. Plans for Earth's entry, ceremonies, new trade rules. But Daniel did not listen closely. He felt tired now. The real tired that comes after a storm passes. Laura stayed by his side. Kevin joined them. They stood together as the room filled with voices. Vexlar turned away last. He looked at the hologram one more time. Then he walked out without another word. Daniel picked up his coffee cup from the table. It was cold now. He drank it anyway. He looked at Laura. "I think I need a nap." She laughed softly. "You earned it." He nodded. "But first, let's go home." The clock on the wall showed 3 days left. No one cared anymore. The test was over. Daniel Hayes had not just solved the impossible question. He had turned the trap into a door. And through that door, humanity stepped into the stars. The council chamber stayed noisy for a long time after Daniel Hayes finished speaking. Voices rose and fell in many languages. Translators buzzed softly. Some aliens clapped their strange hands or tentacles. Others sat quiet, still shocked. Humans cheered loudest. They hugged each other. They wiped tears. Laura Bennett stayed close to Daniel. She held his arm like she was afraid he might disappear. Kevin Morales stood behind them with a big grin. He kept saying the same thing over and over. "We did it. We really did it." The head council member raised one glowing hand for silence. The room grew still. "The decision is final," the tall being said. "Earth joins the Galactic Concord as a full member. Seat granted. Rights equal. The test is passed." More cheers came. This time, even some aliens joined in. The small blue-feathered one flapped its wings fast in what looked like excitement. The stone-skinned council member nodded slowly. Respect showed on its hard face. Daniel did not cheer. He just stood there. His notebook stayed closed under his arm. His face looked peaceful. Tired, but peaceful. He had done what he came to do. Now the rest felt far away. Vexlar stayed at the edge of the group. He had not spoken since Daniel explained the solution. His 7 eyes moved slowly over the humans, then over the glowing sphere that still floated in the test room. The perfect shape. No more traps, no more loops. Just calm, gold light. After the cheers died down, the council began to plan. Dates for the joining ceremony. Papers to sign. Ships to prepare. Trade talks to start. Daniel listened for a few minutes. Then he turned to Laura. "I think I'm done here," he said quietly. She nodded. "Let's get you out." They walked past the crowd. Guards stepped aside. No one stopped them. Kevin followed close behind. They left the big chamber and went down the long white halls. The station felt different now. Lighter, brighter. Like a weight had lifted from every wall. They reached a small lounge near the docking area. Daniel sat on a soft bench. He leaned back and closed his eyes. Laura sat next to him. Kevin stood by the window, looking out at the stars. "You okay?" Laura asked. Daniel opened his eyes. "Yeah, just quiet inside now." She smiled. "You changed everything." He shook his head. "No, I just answered a question. The change comes from what happens next." Kevin turned from the window. "They're already talking about you on the feeds. The human who broke eternity. Sounds dramatic." Daniel gave a small laugh. "Let them talk. I just want to go home. Teach my classes. Drink coffee that doesn't come from a machine." Laura touched his hand. "You will. Soon." They sat in silence for a while. The station hummed softly around them. Ships moved outside the windows. Stars stayed still and bright. A shadow fell across the bench. Daniel looked up. Vexlar stood there, alone. No council, no guards. His tall body looked smaller somehow. His mandibles stayed close together, not clicking, not moving much. "May I speak with you?" the alien asked. His voice came through the translator box softer than before. Daniel stood. "Of course." Vexlar looked at Laura and Kevin. They stepped back a little, gave space. The teacher spoke slowly. "I came here to teach a lesson. I believe the lesson was about limits, about order, about knowing one's place in the galaxy." He paused. His 7 eyes met Daniel's too. "Instead, I received the lesson." Daniel waited. He did not interrupt. "You did not break my rules," Vexlar continued. "You showed me they were too narrow. You used a tool I did not see. Self-observation, acceptance of the unsolved. Humans carry that tool inside you. I did not expect it. We learned it the hard way. Many times." Vexlar's mandibles twitched. "I have taught for centuries. I have seen minds bend and break. Yours did not bend, it opened." He looked down at the floor for a moment, then back up. "I would like to learn from you, if you allow it." Daniel thought for a second. "I'm not a teacher of aliens. I'm just a math professor from Ohio." "You are more now," Vexlar said, "but I understand. I will not push. If the time comes, I will ask again." Daniel held out his hand. "If the time comes, I'll answer." Vexlar looked at the hand. Then he raised his own long arm. Instead of shaking, he touched Daniel's wrist lightly with 2 fingers. A Zorathian sign of respect. No words needed. Then the alien turned and walked away. His steps were slow, thoughtful. Laura watched him go. He looked different. He was, Daniel said. We all are now. Days passed fast after that. Reporters came from Earth. Diplomats arrived from other worlds. Ceremonies were planned. Daniel stayed out of most of it. He gave one short statement. Simple words. "We are glad to join as friends. We come to learn and share." That was all. Soon a small transport ship took him home. Laura and Kevin went with him. The trip felt short. When they landed on Earth, the sky looked bigger than he remembered. The air smelled like grass and rain. Daniel went back to his small college in Ohio. He walked into his classroom on the first day back. Students stared. Some clapped. One girl in the front row asked, "Is it true you solved an impossible question?" Daniel set his notebook on the desk. "It wasn't impossible," he said. "It just looked that way." He started the class like always. Chalk on the board. Simple problems. Quiet explanations. Life went on. Months later, Laura published a paper. She wrote about the observer loop. She gave Daniel full credit. The paper spread through universities on Earth, then to alien schools. Some Zorathian students read it. They started asking new questions. Years passed. One day a message came to Daniel's office, a small silver box with a Zorathian seal. Inside was a short note in clear English. "Professor Hayes, I have thought about our meeting many times. I teach differently now. I leave space for the unsolved. My students grow stronger because of it. If you ever wish to speak again, I will listen. Vexlar." Daniel read the note twice, then he put it in his desk drawer, next to his old notebook. He looked out the window. The campus was green. Students walked and laughed. The world felt normal, but it was not the same. Because one human had looked at an impossible trap and said, "Maybe the trap is the answer." And the stars had opened. Earth joined not with big ships or loud weapons, but with a quiet mind that refused to stop asking why. And in the vast halls of the Galactic Concord, they still told the story. The day the teacher set a trap, and the student turned it into a bridge. Daniel Hayes closed the drawer. He picked up his chalk. He walked to the board. Class was about to start. And somewhere far away, in a room full of light, a golden sphere still glowed. Quiet. Complete. Waiting for the next question.